Hi, Math 1. Let's do a recap of how to write the equation of lines. Okay. Whenever you write the equation of a line, there's always two things that we need to know before we can start doing that. Okay. So the first thing we need to know is the slope. Okay. Some people call the slope the two-sided pattern. Okay. We have to look at the x side and the y side of the table. Some people like to call this rise over run. Rise over run is great if you have a picture, the graph, and then you can rise and run to get to your points. You could also call this delta y over delta x, the change in y over change in x, which is like the pattern. Okay? The other thing you definitely need to know is the starting point. Now you have to have some sort of starting point from your table in order to do this. I love when the starting point has a 0, but if not, we'll just adjust. Okay, let's take a look at some examples here. Okay, write the equation with the given information. Okay, so they gave me a point, 9, -1. Okay, and they gave me a slope. So a lot of people find it helpful to make a little tiny table, x and y. And I'm going to put 9 in the x spot, -1 in the y spot. Okay. Now I have to get the slope, delta y over delta x. Well, look at this. They told me the pattern. Normally I'd have to figure out the pattern from the x and the y sides of the table, but they just told us it was -2/7. So I don't even need to do any work. Okay. So I think we're ready. We have the slope. We have the starting point. So let's go ahead and write our equation. Okay, we could do y of x. You could also do f of x, like before, okay, as long as the input variable goes inside. And whenever you write an equation, we have our starting value, which is -1. Okay, and then we have to put the pattern, or the slope, and they told us it was -2/7, so -2/7. Okay, and then we have to put the x. So let's go ahead and take a look at the table. Since this table started here with a 9, I'm going to have to adjust and say -9. Okay, and what kind of an equation is this? This is a point slope equation because my starting point was just a random point. Okay, when you have any point here, it's point slope. This is the longer form. Okay, let's take a look at another one. Okay, write the equation of the line going through these 2 points. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put my points into a table so it's just like we used to. Okay, we just have to be very careful that when we take our point 3, 8, that we put them together. 1 goes in the x spot, the 8's going to go into the y spot. They stay together like a set, an x and a y. Okay, they have to go in the table like that, not down a column. My second point is 5, 4. I'm going to put 5 in the x spot, 4 in the y spot. They stay together like a point. Okay, so in order to write an equation, I need a point. And I got lots of points, but I also need to have a slope, okay, or a delta y over delta x, a two-sided pattern. So how does an 8 change to a 4? That definitely goes down, and that would be -4. How does a 3 change into a 5? Okay, that's going up. That would be a +2. So a -4 divided by 2, can that divide? Can that simplify? Yes, it can. It can make -2. So if you can divide your numbers or if you can simplify, we always do that for the slope. Okay, I think it's time to start. I have lots of points and I have my slope. Okay, so I'll start y of x equals, okay, I need a starting point. I'm going to start with the number 8, the starting value. After the starting value, we always have to put our slope. I'm going to use the -2, the nice simplified form. Okay, and now it's time for x. Let's take a look at the table. I'm using the 8, so I have to use his corresponding x value. Since that's not a 0, I have to adjust and say -3. What type of an equation is this? This is a point-slope equation, okay, because we had a random point. It's the longer one. Okay, and the third type of equation we might see, the information might be given to us on a graph. Okay, making a table is what a lot of people decided they wanted to do for this. Okay, so I'll show you a couple different ways. When you're looking for points, okay, you can't pick a point that's in the middle of a box. Okay, in fact, do you know what point I always try to find just to make everything easier down here? Okay, the Y-intercept point. There's one right here on the y-axis. Okay, so first, look at the y-axis, and that's the point 0, -1. If you could find a 0, or a y-intercept, okay, that would be the best point to use. I notice there's another one over here at 2, 2. Okay, so now that I have a couple of points, I can calculate delta y over delta x. All right, how does a -1 go up to 2? That would be going up 3. Okay, how does a 0 go up to 2? That's plus 2. 3 does not divide by 2, so we're going to keep that 3 over 2. Okay, you can also find your slope from the graph, okay, by doing rise over run. So you always start at the lower point. Okay, and how am I going to get from this point to that one? I'd have to rise up 1, 2, 3 boxes. And then how much do we have to run over? We're going to run over 2. Okay, and remember, delta y goes on top, delta y over delta x, okay, gives me 3 over 2, which is exactly what we found by taking those numbers and calculating it from the table. Okay, in terms of a starting point, okay, the y-intercept would be a nice one right here. We've got 0, -1. Okay, so either way, information off of a table or a graph, it's the same. It's just a different visual representation. Okay, for the equation, y of x equals, let's start with a starting number. And I don't know about you, okay, but I really like to use the 0 point. So we're going to start with the -1 value, which is the y-intercept. After that comes the pattern or the slope. So we're going to add 3 halves. Okay. And then I notice that my table starts with a 0, so all we have to put is an x. If you have a point starting with 0 and you have the short form, that's called slope-intercept because we use the y-intercept for our equation. Okay, I want you to go get a green pen in your class kit, and in the upper right hand corner up there, I want you to just draw a cute little smiley face to show me that you watched this video. Thank you.